Hi, my name is Chrissy, otherwise known as the Rotund Chef. I'm starting this video blog because a lot of my friends know how much I love to cook and they know how good I am at it. And basically, they're always asking me for recipes, always asking me for how-tos, tips, and I don't mind sharing, but it's a lot easier for me to show you than it is for me to write things down because I really don't follow recipes. Tonight, I'm going to be making a quick-style Bolognese sauce. And normally a Bolognese sauce needs to cook for about 3-4 hours minimum. I usually start mine in the early morning and let it simmer all day long. But nobody really has time for that except on the weekends. And when you come home from work, you know, you just want to cook something, feed your family, and be done with it. So I'm going to do a quick style version of it. And it's just something different to do with pasta. And it's also a really good way to sneak in some extra veggies that your kids otherwise may not like. I am big about having all my ingredients out before I start. This way, everything runs smoothly. We have our ground beef, we have our carrots, we have our celery, fresh parsley. Normally I use fresh basil, but it wasn't available to me right now. I didn't like the way it looked, so I'm just going to use dry basil tonight. A can of plum tomatoes, some crushed red pepper seed. When I don't make my own pasta, I like to use Giada's brand of pasta. It's available at Target. If you have a Target near you, I highly recommend it. It's just about the best dried pasta, aside from Di Cecco, that I'll use. I have my food processor here. I have some freshly grated Parmigiano. And I'm going to make a quick tomato salad, so I have a shallot, some tomatoes, and some olive oil and apple cider vinegar as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring a pot of water up to boil. Do not salt the water. Do not, ever, never put oil in your pasta water. Don't ever do it. You need those starches to build your sauce, and you'll see how I do that in a second. Just boil your water. When the water comes to a boil, then you add your salt, and then we add our pasta. So for right now, just bring your pot of water to a boil so we can get started. Okay, if you don't have a food processor, I highly recommend getting one. I actually got this on sale at Walmart for $69.99. It was originally $129.99, and you know, it's a Farberware. It's pretty decent. For my budget, it was the right thing to do. So, we're going to start building our sauce. And basically, a Bolognese sauce always has meat, and it always has celery and carrots in it. And I have those here, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So basically, these baby carrots were on sale. Normally, I buy regular carrots, but these were actually cheaper than the regular carrots. So I got these. You're going to put maybe about a cup of carrots in there. And then you're going to take two stalks of celery. Just cut off the tips here. They're already washed. I try to wash everything as soon as I come home from the supermarket so it's ready. Just give this a rough chop so it makes it a little easier for the food processor. Then we're going to add 1 onion. And I really like garlic, so I'm gonna add 3 cloves of fresh garlic. Try not to use the jarred garlic. It's processed and it usually has a really bitter flavor to it. It's cheaper to buy the real garlic. I'll show you how to peel the garlic. Just use the real garlic, for God's sakes. The quickest way to remove the skin from garlic is to put your knife down. Remember, tilt the blade down a little bit so you don't slice your wrist off, and just knock it. The skin of the garlic will pop right off, and there you have your garlic. Boom. Throw it in there whole. The food processor will do the work. Again, with the blade pointed down just a little bit, instead of being straight, we're going to point it down a little bit, knock on it, and pop it right out. So we have a cup of carrots, 2 stalks of celery, 3 cloves of garlic, and 1 onion. We're going to pulse this almost into a paste because we need it to cook really quickly. So I like to pulse it first just to get it going. Also, it gives me better control. I can see what's going on. going to do now is I'm going to start my frying pan. So we got this going, medium-high heat. I'm going to add maybe about 3 tablespoons of olive oil. So we've got our oil heated up here, and we have our sofrito, and so you can see what you want it to look like. Nice, small, but you definitely still want some larger pieces in there. So we're going to add this into our frying pan, and we're going to cook this down until it's nice and soft and the onions are translucent. Okay, as you can see, the sofrito is cooked now. Notice the color change. That's how you know it's done. So at this point right now, we're going to add our ground beef. You can use a beef, pork, and veal mixture. You can use ground beef. Ground beef was on sale, so that's what I'm using today. So I'm going to add that now. And again, I always break down my meat when I buy it from the store into little half-pound portions, because it's just easier for me because I'm cooking for 2 people. Okay, so I have my ground beef and my sofrito nice and browned up. And now, traditionally, a Bolognese sauce has wine in it, red wine. You don't have to put it in there. Again, we're trying to keep things cost effective. I just happen to have some leftover wine from a birthday dinner that I had made for my son, so I'm going to use it. Basically, we're going to add about a 1/4 cup. And you want to let that cook down. Now, a quick trick to how you can know that your wine is cooked down. When you come over and you smell it, if it still smells like it has a lot of alcohol in it, then it is not reduced. It is not cooked down. The alcohol is still in there. So you just want to give it about a minute and let that alcohol cook out. Okay, my wine has cooked down. Now I'm going to give you a little secret on how to add that all-day cooked flavor to your Bolognese sauce. A beef bouillon cube. We're going to pop this in, and we're just going to stir this around. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add our tomatoes. I'm using a whole 28-ounce can of whole peeled tomatoes. I prefer Tutoroso brand, but whatever brand is on sale you can use. So we're going to crack these open. And we're going to take the juice and the tomatoes and we're going to dump it into a bowl. And here's the fun part, and this is another thing that you can get your kids involved in. We crush them. You crush the tomatoes up with your hands. You get them a nice consistency. Okay, our tomatoes are all crushed up. We're going to add them to the sofrito and beef. Check for seasoning. Again, I usually use fresh basil, but it just didn't look good at the store, so I always have dried basil on hand. What I like to do, I like to put it in the palm of my hand, and I have about a tablespoon of basil right there. If you're using fresh basil, I would just take a nice bunch. Just throw the leaves in there whole. You can pick them out later if your kids don't like it, or you can leave them in there. And I like to rub the basil and just crush it up a little more fine and get that incorporated in there. We're going to stir that, and as you can see, the Bolognese is nice and thick right now, but we're going to add some of the pasta water to bind it together. So my pasta water is boiling. For this particular type of sauce, you want to use a really hearty noodle. I would make if I had time to make homemade pasta, I would make a homemade pappardelle. But I don't have time tonight because it's a working day. So what I have here is fusilli col buco, and basically it's a long fusilli and it's got a hole in the middle of it. Another pasta that's like that is a bucatini. It's really great for this style of sauce because not only does it adhere to the noodles, but it's got the hole in the middle, so it kind of like sucks up a lot of the juice inside and it makes it a little bit more flavorful. Only at this point do we want to add salt. And you want to add a lot of salt because this is your only chance to flavor your pasta. So, I mean, I almost use about 1/8 a cup there. And you can just take your spatula, get them down in there, move them around a little bit so they don't stick. So we're going to let our pasta cook almost to al dente. We don't want to cook our pasta all the way. We want to cook it about 7/8 of the way through, because the last bit of cooking time, the last minute or two of cooking time, we're actually going to take the macaroni and we're going to incorporate it into the sauce. So the last minute of cook time is cooked in the sauce, so it absorbs for the last minute all of that really delicious flavor. I'm going to take a little bit right now and I'm going to taste it for salt and pepper. Almost perfect. Needs just a touch of salt. And we should be good to go. The flavor on this is ridiculous. I mean, it's not your traditional meat sauce. It definitely has a more distinct flavor. Okay, so now that the pasta, it's not all the way done yet, but it started to release some of this great starch, we're going to take a ladle or two of the salty pasta water and add it to our Bolognese sauce. The starch in that pasta water is really going to bring the sauce together, bind it, and make it so that it's more voluminous but dense at the same time. While our pasta is cooking and while our Bolognese sauce is simmering, I'm going to make a quick tomato salad. We like large slices for our tomato salad, so I'm just slicing the tomatoes like so. And I'm using a shallot because it's a little milder than straight white onion, but if you really enjoy that intense onion flavor, by all means, go ahead. And to keep with the style of the salad, I'm just going to slice some shallot like this. So I'm going to add my shallots. So you just want to scrape the leaves off of the parsley like that, and you just want to give it a quick chop. Also gives it great color, and we just really enjoy fresh herbs here, and they're more cost effective as well to buy fresh herbs once a week when you go to the supermarket. So basically what I like to do for my quick vinaigrette, I like to add a little dash of garlic powder. I like to add a little dash of onion powder, salt, some freshly ground black pepper, about 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and 2 cupfuls of apple cider vinegar. Okay, so we're just going to toss this around. Okay, now I'm just going to add some fresh parsley to the Bolognese. Again, give it a rough chop. Now, you can see the consistency of the Bolognese. It's been simmering for about 15 minutes now. We're getting ready to have it come out. Now, I want to note that when I showed you to incorporate a few ladlefuls of the starchy pasta water, I've done that about 5 times. This is the consistency that you are looking for. So as it cooks down, you're going to notice that you need more and more ladlefuls of the starchy pasta water. But this is the end result of what it should look like. I've drained my pasta. There's actually still a little bit of water in there. As you can tell, it's about 7/8 of the way done. I'm incorporating it directly into the sauce. I'm going to crank the heat up on high, and we're going to stir this around in the Bolognese sauce so that it can cook for its last minute in the sauce and it can really absorb all the flavor that it needs to. Okay, as you can see, the pasta has absorbed all that insane sauce, and basically right now we're just going to plate it up. We're going to finish it off with some freshly ground Parmigiano, a little bit of fresh parsley, and we're ready to go to the table.